Hey, hey, you guys. So I don't know what time it is, but it's not 9 in the morning. That's for sure. We usually do this about 9 in the morning, and it is. What time is it? It's late. Anyway, hi, hi there. So anyway, I just um, every day for a long time, I have done a daily reading from a book called the 24-Hour Day Book. And I've also done what time is it? Um, a little chat, you know. And so today, uh, my day got away from me. I actually was, I, I went on a motorcycle ride early this morning. It was a fundraiser for Fresh Start for a treatment center here in town that I sometimes work relief shift at, and you know, am fond of Fresh Start and the work that it does. And so I got up really early this morning and went to be on this ride, and um, it was wow, what a day! What a day! There was well over 100 motorcycles, and we took off from this location in Calgary. Hi, Kathy. And we took off from this location in Calgary about 10:30 or 11 this morning, and and we rode, you know, 250 kilometers. But there was 100 of us riding in formation, and it just wiped me out. Wow! And we went to let me see, from where we started, we went to one, two, three, four different stops. The fourth one being where we stopped in a town for dinner, and it was a great day in many ways. It was kind of chilly, so that was part of it. But it was a great day. But I just want to talk with you a little bit about um, you know, sometimes in social situations, um, I don't feel like I have anything to say. And I was watching myself today, or watching almost, I don't want to speak about myself in the third person, but I was watching David not have anything to say, and also watching my discomfort with not having anything to say much. You know, I, I'm somehow just not much for small talk these days, and there was some stuff that was fun. You know, there's no question, and I think a lot of people, as I watched, the crowd that I was riding with, a lot of people were standing around at these stops without much to say. I don't think I was the only one. I think a lot of people were in the same boat because many of us didn't know each other or don't know each other very well. So does that ever happen to you? The piece, though, that I want to mention is that I saw is my discomfort. I felt some discomfort with not really having anything to say. And then I also watched as I felt some discomfort with feeling some discomfort. So I was watching myself feeling discomfort. So, I mean, the whole thing around self-awareness and consciousness is to be able to see yourself and to not just be in whatever's happening, especially if it's coming, from an old place, if we're running our old tapes, if we're in ego, if we're trying to fit in, if we're trying to, look good or any of those things. We want to watch that. We want to see when that happens so that we can be aware and be conscious and not be just doing what we've always done. And not to change in any particular thing. The trick is to accept what's happening, and as things, you know, are happening in our behaviors or in our persona, to accept it in the moment. Say, oh, look at that, you know, just to watch and not to do anything with it, not make it wrong, not make it right. And even if, you know, today, you know, I was watching a little bit of my discomfort with, you know, just kind of standing around, not having anything much to say, and then watching that I got discomfort with, you know, I was watching that as well. So I was watching that I didn't have anything to say, and I was watching my uncomfortableness with that. And so just, you know, part of awakening, part of self-realization is to be able to be present and to see ourselves in each moment. And you know, it's, you know, my preferred state, of course, is to be of service. And yet, you know, and being that there was that many people there, there would have been lots of opportunity to really ask questions and find out how people are doing. And one man was even sharing with me about his son, with, you know, and his son is exploring or researching with drugs and alcohol, and he's concerned about his son. But I just didn't have much. Nothing was coming. So the trick is to be okay with what is in each moment. And I watched myself today not being always so okay. That's all. Not a complaint. Just, you know, watching that. You know, as we're out in a setting with a lot of people, how do you do with all of that? You know, do you, I mean, I think a lot of people will say, gee, I'm not very comfortable with small talk and all of that. But some people seem to be better with it, you know. Uh, um, well, not so much what's going on in the world, Scott. Thanks. Scott said, be awake, as in seeing what is really going on in the world. He's asking me if that's what I'm talking about, but actually more of what's going on in me. Because the thing with the world, I can't really see the world. Everything in the world outside of me is through my perception, through my screen of past experiences. So the trick with what's happening in the world is to not judge, not to, you know, not to look at somebody and imagine how they're feeling, or even hear what they're saying. And you know, sometimes when I do talk to people, I'll repeat it. They'll say something and I'll repeat it and say, is this what you mean? You know, so that I actually hear or try to hear what they're saying, as opposed to assume that I know or be quick. So yeah, my thing is all about personal consciousness, personal awareness, as opposed to what's happening, or what I perceive is happening with others, you know. So today, my personal awareness was that I, you know, had some a little bit of uncomfortableness with being in a, you know, pretty good sized crowd of people, and just not having anything really all day to say. But other than that, you know, now I'm okay with the fact that I didn't, and I get that that's okay, and it's just the way it was. What a day though. So imagine riding with 100 motorcycles. So we're in formation pretty much all day. So it's different than me being on my motorcycle by myself, where I can really kind of get in the zone. When I've got a bike behind me on my left and a bike in front of me on my right, kind of, and we're staggered, and we're traveling at 100 or 120 sometimes kilometers an hour. Wow, I'm exhausted, but it was fun. You know, even though I'm exhausted. It was fun. So I'm late in my reading. For some of you that are aware that this is what I get to do every day, and it's beautiful. And today would be the September 19th. Yesterday was my birthday, and I had a great day. I went out for dinner. My son and his wife took me out for dinner last night. It was beautiful, and I had a friend come with me, JR, and Linda, my ex, and her husband, Bruce. It was really nice. We went out for dinner last night, and much different than, you know, other years. I mean, sometimes I've had some gatherings around birthdays, and with what's going on in the world, we're having much smaller gatherings, aren't we? You know, and anyway, when we're living in the moment, birthdays really don't matter, do they? They're just, you know, a measure of time in the linear world, and when I'm really here, when I'm really present, when I'm really in this moment, there is no perception of time, and time is kind. Thank you, Scott. Time is kind of, you know, like it. Often I'm in this space where it's just stillness, and there's no perception of time, which is pretty exciting. I don't know how to explain it really, but there's just no awareness of time and no thought of time. And though a lot of our conditioning is around time, a lot of how we judge the world is time is a big piece of it, you know. But that time that we're judging isn't really real. And I don't know how to explain that, but it's kind of made up. If there is only now, be here now. If there's only now, time is talking about the future or the past, you know. And I guess it's needed somewhat in conversation if we're telling a story, but we don't have to live in time. We can live in this moment, and there's no acknowledgement or really any perception of time. September 19th, thought for the day. This is out of this little book called the 24-Hour Day Book, and it says, let us continue, it says, with steps 2, 3, and 11. So he's talking about the steps in the 12 steps, and he started out a couple of days ago talking about step 1, and then he talked about step 2 yesterday, and step 3 yesterday, and today he's going to talk about step 2, 3, and 11. Now, I find a lot of people who aren't familiar with the 12 steps are quite interested in, you know, how is it this work, you know. Well, just to let me know, Canada, I'm in Canada, Scott, hi, I'm in Canada. So let me just share with you that it doesn't matter whether you have a acknowledged addiction that you're dealing with. We're all kind of addicted to our stories or our persona. There's different levels of addiction. It doesn't all have to be substance. And these steps help us to awaken, help us to take ourselves kind of out of or our persona out of the center of the picture. So let us continue with steps 2, 3, and 11. We must turn to a higher power for help. We must turn to a higher power for help because we're helpless ourselves. So part of step 1 is that our lives were unmanageable. And our lives are unmanageable because we're always trying to manipulate to get things to go our way, generally when we're living in a selfish, self-centered type of a way. And that's what creates our helplessness, because we can't. when we put our drink problem in God's hands and leave it there, we have made the most important decision of our lives. So this is written in 54, and it was really specifically, because it was written for Alcoholics Anonymous about the addiction of alcoholism. But I talk about it, the addiction to a lot of things, because many of the people that I'm talking with on this channel are dealing with addictions in, food and emotions and gambling and sex and work, and relationships, and it just goes on and on, besides drugs and alcohol. So it works. These 12 steps help us in all those areas. It says, from then on, we trust God for the strength to keep sober. And sober is, not living in a selfish, self-centered way. This takes us off this takes us off the center of the universe and allows us to transfer our problems to a power outside of ourselves. By prayer and meditation, we seek to improve our conscious contact with God. We try to live each day the way we believe God wants us to live, by trading God for strength to stay sober. So, very simple the way that he's worded this. There's, lots of ways to connect with this higher power, but just as an idea that in the next week or so, I'm going to, in a couple of weeks, 1st of October, I'm going to start reading this book it's called the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to read, and so just different ways of making this connection and realizing who we are. So meditation of the day. These things I have spoken unto you, that your joy may be full. These things I've spoken unto you, that your joy may be full. Even a partial realization of the spiritual life brings much joy. That's a fact. Even a partial realization. Hey, you guys, welcome to my late. This is something I usually do every day early, usually 12 hours ago on this day, so it's a late one tonight. It says, you feel at home in the world when you are in touch with your divine spirit of the universe. Spiritual experience brings a definite satisfaction. Search for the real meaning of life by following the spiritual laws. God wants you to have spiritual success, and he intends that you have it. If you live your life as much as possible according to the spiritual laws, you can expect your share of joy and peace and satisfaction and success. Yes. So 1954 he wrote this, so the language is a little older, but I like it. Prayer for the day. I pray that I will find happiness in doing the right thing. I pray that I will find satisfaction in obeying spiritual laws. The 12 steps of AA, NA, or CA, they're so simple. And yet, most of us get a couple of weeks dry or clean, or a couple of years, and we forget. And that's why the prognosis is not very good for addicts and alcoholics. Most addicts and alcoholics do not get recovery. An overwhelming percentage don't. They die. That's the prognosis. Death, institutions, or death, so the jails are full of addicts and alcoholics. Hospitals are full of alcoholics and addicts, and because we get a taste of it, we start to feel better, and then ego mind takes us back to our old ways. So it really requires a focus and a real commitment to get ourselves lifted out of the mire of guilt and shame and fear. But It's hard for people, hard for you to see that. That's the deal. It's hard for us to see that, and stay with it and keep growing in our consciousness and self-realization. We finally discover who we really are. You know, hardly anybody on the planet knows who we really are. So that's my challenge, is to help folks to see in depth, right? In depth, who we really are. Who are you? Tell me who you are. So it's funny because it's so easy, yet it seems like we have to look and search and read and study and meditate and listen to teachers, and because it's the mind resists. It just resists. It says no. We're afraid. Fear keeps us from seeing the beautiful truth. All right, you guys, love you. I'm going to be late again tomorrow as well. I work tomorrow. I'm actually working on relief at Fresh Start, so it'll be late in the day before I get to do this. All right, love you lots. We'll talk tomorrow sometime. Cheers. Oh, follow me on YouTube, would you? On YouTube at Bowing Beyond, Project Awakening. Check us out on YouTube. And this Monday coming at 7:30 Calgary time, Mountain time, we have our hour and a half meditation group. So there's some discussion, and then we're live on Facebook and live on YouTube and live on LinkedIn, I think, too. So hopefully join us on Monday at 7:30. Okay, love you lots. Bye.